Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Savani Campos. At CTLN, we have a video interview segment called CTLN Opinion Plus. Once a week, we interview a Connecticut elected or appointed official where we discuss current events and questions the Latino community are curious to know. Today, we have Deputy Commissioner Glendowlyn Thames with us from the Department of Economic and Community Development, where she serves as Chief Financial Officer and Chief Operating Officer. She was a founding executive director of CTNext, a wholly owned subsidiary of Connecticut Innovations. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah, you are a very impressive and well-accomplished woman, and one of those accomplishments was CTNext. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. So CTNext is a wholly owned subsidiary of Connecticut Innovations, which is a quasi-state agency. And so what does quasi mean? It's a public agency, so it's supported by the state of Connecticut and your tax dollars, but it provides some level of independency from your traditional state agency, if you will. And so the mission and core objective of CTNext is to really spur and promote entrepreneurship across our state and innovation. So to the extent that we have, new entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs who have really big, grand ideas of disrupting markets, how can we support that innovation through access to capital, through mentoring, through other, resources to help them scale their businesses?
Right. And in Connecticut, there's a large population of Latinos, over 500,000 Latinos. How can the Latino community benefit from something like Connecticut Innovations and CTNext?
Absolutely. Fundamentally at its core, we are all about inclusive growth. And so we have a prime initiative called the Innovation Places Program, where we have really focused in on our more higher dense cities. And so that is the city of Hartford, that is the city of New Haven, the city of Stamford, and the New London, Groton area. And so a part of that strategy with those places is to really focus on how can we really make those city centers of innovation and entrepreneurship, and how do we ensure that the communities that live there, which are predominantly, Black and Latinx communities, are a part of that resurgence and are part of, to the extent that they want to be entrepreneurs or are in the tech space and want to be coders, want to be data analysts, like how do we engage them while they may not be entrepreneurs, but there is a lot of entrepreneur activity happening, startups that are growing there. How do we ensure that we're creating those ladders for them to be, part of those teams that are really growing and coming out of our cities? And so it's been a very focused, place-based approach on those cities, from the social capital there, all of the amenities from restaurants. We know, we have fabulous Latino restaurants in all of our cities. And so those are key cultural attributes that are paramount in growing a city and making it economically diverse and viable, if you will, and where young people want to be. And so this initiative is really all about how do we lift all communities and make all of our communities a part of that, of growth, if you will.
So great that the state is willing to provide this type of type of agency. I think that's so great. With the pandemic going on, there's been a lot of adjustments and a lot of closures of restaurants. How has your department had to, not restaurants, but businesses, including restaurants, how has your department adjusted?
Yeah, so that is, the $1 billion question, because we have not seen a pandemic, on the health side, and then which quickly translated to an economic crisis of this scale in our lifetime. And so we've all had to make adjustments and pivot very quickly and respond very quickly. And so, right in the height of it, and right when we were kind of shutting, down non-essential businesses, we really quickly sprung into action. We, stood up a small business hotline. We, put together a bridge loan product. Also working with our partners at HEDCO, the Hartford Economic Development Corporation, in concert with SAMA, the Spanish American Merchants Association, and standing up a forgivable grant product that was focused on minority communities. Because we understood the disruption that was happening, and that those hardest hit industries were most represented by Black and Latinx communities. And so we wanted to make sure that we were, providing them, resources. While we can't backstop everything, but we were doing what we could with the resources that we had, and focusing on some of our most underserved communities and our underserved cities, if you will. And from there, really just communication, right? We, in close coordination with SBA, Moraima Gutierrez, who is the Deputy Director for the New England region. We work in close coordination with her through webinars, Zooms, and really trying to, make sure we were outreaching to a variety of outlets, our own, team members. We're going on Spanish and Latin radio, again, to ensure that we were getting the message out about all of the resources from a federal perspective that were available, and putting people in touch with resources that could help them, right? Because a lot of businesses, it was high anxiety, which still is, and helping them navigate, and to the extent of filling out applications for them, right? And really being intentional about ensuring that, we had translatable, information and communication. So we were really making sure we were touching and communicating with our Latinx community.
It's great that there was this avenue available for communities of color and businesses of color. What has the response been like? Have you gotten a lot of calls? How have businesses responded to this initiative?
Yeah, I think by and large, we've gotten, I must say, I think, everybody says government is a thankless job, right? Being an elected official and all those things are thankless jobs. But I have to say, I've been really, really it's been an eye-opening experience how, collectively in crisis, people just come together, right? And there's collaborations that are forged that may not have happened otherwise. And I got so much positive feedback, just anecdotally, people writing me emails, every time I was on a Zoom talking to a small business owner, just super appreciative of what we were doing, because I think we were there, right? At minimum, we may not have had all the right answers or the answer they wanted to hear, but they had somebody to talk to. They had somebody that was, helping them navigate through this process, and was providing resources to help them, and recognizing, again, like, by no means is this over, right? We went through the height of it, and things have really calmed down a bit, and it's because of, all the steps that, Governor Lamont has taken from a health perspective, wearing masks, social distancing, business owners being responsible, and doing what they need to do to keep their employees and patrons safe. And so, from that perspective, people have all had to do what they've had to do, and it's gonna be a long road to recovery. And I think now people are kind of recalibrating a bit, because we kind of moved out of immediate crisis and response mode, and now it's about, okay, how do we come out of this stronger and more resilient, and what are those resources that we need to continue to support our community? And so we're constantly evaluating that. But I think overall, the response has been very positive. For example, there was a lot of need out there. Our programs, the minute we launched, programs, particularly our bridge loan program and our forgivable loan program that was targeted to women and minorities, the first 24 hours, we were significantly oversubscribed. The bridge loan had over 5,000 applications in the first 48 hours. The Women and Minority Forgivable Grant program had over 1,000, applicants for a limited pool of money, right? And so we tried to do the best we could to support as many businesses as possible, given our limited resources, but really pointing people to other resources that were the Paycheck Protection Program that the SBA launched, the EIDL Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, and the Advanced Grant. Again, it was all hands on deck, but I have to say that I was very, very pleasantly surprised on the gratitude, because again, I think everybody's just appreciative that this was just so unprecedented, and we were building the plane as we go, and nobody had the right answers, so to speak, and we didn't know what we didn't know. We still don't know what we don't know, but we are committed to trying to understand and doing the best responsible solutions that we can.
Right, right. And one of those innovations is the business.ct.gov that just launched 2 weeks ago, correct?
Absolutely, the
what
business
does that
one stop.
entail?
Absolutely. So
what is,
yeah. So we just recently launched the Business One Stop, and that was an effort that was really ushered in with Governor Lamont's administration, and really the whole notion on the digital front door and moving the state of Connecticut from the dark age, so to speak, to the modern age, if you will. And really digitizing, bringing things online, not, recognizing that people still need the brick and mortar, people still need to, have the face interaction, but more and more, we have to move our economy and our services to reach our customers, particularly our small businesses, in the digital era. And so this is a platform that was in partnership with DAS, the Department of Administrative Services, the Department of Economic and Community Development, the Department of Revenue Services, the Secretary of State's office, which is where people register their business, the Department of Consumer Protection, as kind of the first initial agencies to really collectively, join in on this platform to make a seamless user process, right? So to the extent that you want to start a business, you want to manage your business, and also we launched the Business Recovery and Reopen Center, and so that was a pivot that we had to add on in the midst of a crisis, because we weren't preparing for that, but we had to quickly pivot the development and add on that last feature. And so this provides a digital, footprint for people to have kind of one sign on. You don't have to go to this agency and then that agency. There was a lot of navigation and kind of, going around in circles for small businesses. So this platform is really meant to be kind of that front door where businesses can do, many things, particularly in this first iteration of the product. It's going to get built out over time, but this was kind of the first iteration to test the market, and we're getting a lot of really good response. So I encourage people to check it out.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. And thank you so much for all this information. I'm sure everybody's going to really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us. I'm Savani Campos with CTLN Plus, and I'm here with Commissioner Thames. Thank you for joining us, and tune in next week for a new episode.
Thank you. Take care.